Welcome to This Explainer. Today, we are unlocking the heavy doors to a place where local history isn't just carefully preserved and filed away in boxes, it's watching you. We're diving into a fascinating, slightly unsettling, and highly viral annual tradition that has completely taken over a local Midwestern museum. I am so excited to guide you through this because it is literally the perfect intersection of history, internet culture, and the psychology of fear. So you might be wondering, who exactly is haunting the halls of this Minnesota museum? Well, picture this. You're walking through a quiet, dimly lit historical archive. You're probably expecting to see dusty documents, maybe some old farm equipment, right? Instead, as you turn a corner, you feel eyes on you. Unblinking, glassy, painted eyes. But these aren't ghosts from the past. There's something much more tangible and, honestly, for a lot of people, a whole lot creepier. Section 1. Dolls on the Loose. Let's look at the bizarre scenario currently unfolding out in the Midwest and how a traditional historical society decided to embrace the spooky season in such an unorthodox way. The setting for our story is the History Center of Olmsted County in Rochester, Minnesota, which is home to the 7th annual Creepy Doll Contest. Now, while most places celebrate the fall season with your standard jack-o'-lanterns and trick-or-treaters, this specific museum has chosen a totally different path. They've built an entire contest and exhibition dedicated solely to terrifying vintage toys from their archives. And the organizers get incredibly creative with the storytelling here. For their 2025 theme, Loose in the Vaults, the Human Museum staff are pretending to take a well-deserved break, and they're letting these inanimate dolls run the show as quote-unquote amateur curators. The dolls have supposedly been tasked with digging through the museum's vast collections, finding interesting artifacts, and even researching and writing the historical descriptions for them. It's a hilarious but deeply eerie personification of these vintage objects. What's really fascinating here is the specific way these dolls are displayed. You have these supposedly innocent childhood toys positioned alongside actual historical artifacts. Now, a 1938 wooden dollhouse sounds normal enough, but then you explore a little further and you see a doll sitting in an antique dentist chair or strapped to a 20th century medical gurney. It's that jarring, almost cinematic contrast between a child's plaything and terrifying medical equipment that gives this exhibit its unsettling bite. Section 2. A viral spooky tradition. You can actually track the evolution and escalation of this whole contest. It all dates back to 2019, when the museum simply posted a few photos of some weird vintage dolls from their collection on social media just to celebrate Halloween. Well, the internet did what it does best. It went completely viral. Recognizing they had struck a cultural nerve, the museum leaned all the way in. By 2023, they were staging full-blown interactive murder mysteries with the dolls. In 2024, they pushed the envelope with a Circus After Dark theme, featuring dolls seemingly abandoned by a fictitious circus. And that brings us right to the current Loose in the Vault spectacle for 2025. The absolutely crucial point here is the sheer scale of this haunted army. 140, that is the number of uncanny vintage dolls the museum has amassed. And they aren't just from one specific era. Their origins span all the way from the 18th century straight through to the 21st century. Plus, every single one of them has some direct historical tie to Olmsted County. Just imagine a room packed with 140 sets of unblinking eyes spanning centuries of history. But to put that doll collection into proper perspective for a second, 20,000. That is the total number of historical artifacts housed by the History Center. That means these little amateur curators have an incredibly vast amount of local history to sort through, pair up with, and frankly, haunt. The dolls are just a tiny fraction of the museum's overall collection, but they have completely stolen the spotlight. Section 3. Meet the amateur curators. Now that we understand the history and the scale of the event, let's get up close and personal with the stars of the show. While a lot of the dolls come from the museum's permanent collection, this year they actually put out a call to Olmsted County residents, encouraging them to donate their own unsettling heirlooms. And the community definitely did not disappoint. The museum described a pair of newly donated contestants perfectly, saying, "These dolls are cute at first glance, but their stunning yet terrifying blue eyes bring the perfect touch of eerie and mysterious." It's that exact razor-thin line between cute and creepy that makes this whole thing work. Out of all these contenders, one clear fan favorite has emerged. Meet Connor. He's a bald baby doll designed with his mouth permanently frozen open and his arms and legs stiffly splayed out to the sides. It's a completely unnatural posture that visitors just can't look away from. Honestly, just hearing that description paints a remarkably vivid, unsettling picture in your mind, doesn't it? To understand why Connor and his friends command such a powerful presence, exhibit and event coordinator Krista Lees points out that out of 20,000 historical objects, dolls are entirely unique. As he says, they're the one thing that not only looks like us, but takes on the personification of human identity in a weird way. They are literally the only artifacts in the vault that appear to look back at the people visiting them. Section 4, The Science of Creepy. Because as fun and fascinating as this contest is, there is actually real, documented psychological science explaining why these particular toys make our skin crawl. If hearing about Connor's splayed limbs made you a little anxious, you might be experiencing pediophobia. That's the formal clinical name for the fear of dolls. It's a very real phenomenon shared by countless people across the globe, and it's essentially the invisible psychological engine driving the massive popularity of the Olmsted County contest. We just love to safely interact with the things that scare us. But the science actually goes a layer deeper than that. Pedophobia is just a subset of automatonophobia. This is the broader fear of humanoid figures. It covers anything designed to look human, like a wax figure, a ventriloquist dummy, or an antique doll, but clearly isn't alive. For thousands of years, humans have played with dolls, yet they still manage to trigger these deeply ingrained internal alarm bells. To truly unpack the root of this fear, we can look at the theory of ambivalence, proposed by Knox College psychologist Frank McAndrew. In short, you're getting mixed messages. When you look at a vintage doll, your brain is looking at an object that signals human and innocent child's toy, but it simultaneously signals lifeless, rigid, and unnatural. Your brain literally does not know how to categorize this visual information. There's an exact psychological difference between fear and creepiness. If something is clearly frightening, say a predator charging at you, your brain processes it instantly. You scream, you know exactly how to act, and you run away. But creepiness? Creepiness is paralyzed uncertainty. Because of those ambivalent mixed messages, your brain says, okay, it might be dangerous, but you aren't completely sure. So instead of running, you freeze. You stay locked in place, staring at it, trying to gather more information to resolve that ambivalence, which is exactly why thousands of people willingly line up to stare at Connor the doll. The exhibit coordinator in Rochester mentioned that he's deeply fascinated by why people resonate with these objects. He wants to know what happens in people's minds when they lock eyes with these vintage toys. So I'm going to pass his challenge directly to you. What memories of your childhood do these creepy objects take you back to? Do you have an old toy lingering in a box in your attic right now with glassy eyes, just waiting to become the next amateur curator? Thank you so much for joining me to explore the structured, spooky, and surprisingly scientific world of this explainer. Keep learning, and I'll catch you next time.